Hello and welcome to a new colouring video. Today I'm going to do a picture in this absolutely gorgeous new book by Kerby Rosanes, Dark Fairytales, and I'm going to use watercolour paints. So I just need to pick which page I'm going to do. Probably not going to do a double page spread because they're just too big. I think this is possibly his best book yet. I absolutely love that one. I really might do that one. I really love this as well. These are both beautiful. And of course, my absolute favourite Wizard of Oz. Love both of them. This is gorgeous as well. They're all gorgeous. Oh, maybe one of these. Because I'm thinking that can be so colourful, can't it? I'm just thinking what colour scheme to use. I tend to just want to colour skies blue all the time. I'm not very adventurous with skies, but I'm thinking maybe a nice pink and grey colour scheme with a pink sky and then the grey castle. In fact, I think I'll have a look through the colour cubes because I got them and I don't use them. I'll look through the colour cubes and see if I can see any nice colour schemes in there. Okay, so I've picked quite a few out with that colour scheme that I had in mind. That's a beautiful colour scheme. I could imagine that would look nice. And that one's quite similar. I really like that one. Some of them have got kind of like a browning, which would be handy because there are trees that I could do that colour. It's hard to choose. I really like this one as well. I might go with this. Yeah, I'm going to go with this one because it's quite dark as well. Yeah, I'm going to go with this one, number 229. So I'm using the Daniel Smith watercolour ground so that I can use watercolour on this paper. Okay, so that's nice and dry now. So I've got my colours. I'm going to use Daniel Smith watercolours, and I've got this new one that I haven't used yet, Jane's Grey. So I'm going to try this one and hopefully I'll use that as my dark grey colour. Okay, so those are the colours that I've picked out. They're all Daniel Smith colours. So this is a lot of water that I'm putting on the page, and it's okay because it won't seep through because of that Daniel Smith watercolour ground. The page is quite buckled and wrinkled, but it can be straightened out later when the picture's finished, so I'm not too worried about that. So I'm trying to make a pink and grey, kind of an uneven sky, and I want the bottom of the picture to be like super dark. Okay, so I've got this far in the picture and I really do not like that sky. If you can see there, over to the top left, the watercolour ground left some big streaks. It just looks awful. The paint's stuck to it. You can see the streaky brush marks. So I'm going to do it again. I'm going to get rid of that sky. I just don't like how it's turned out. Just wetting it and then agitating it a little bit, you can just easily lift the paint back off that watercolour ground. Now you can't really do that so much with actual real watercolour paper, but this watercolour ground, it's so liftable. If you make a mistake, you can just lift the paint back out. So I've tried again and see what that will look like. And then I'm also lifting some of the colour out of the centre of the tower because it was just too dark. So you can easily make highlights in areas by painting the paint on and then just lifting it out to create a highlight. The watercolour ground, it really isn't perfect, but there are some advantages, and one of the major advantages is you can just keep lifting the paint up, redoing it multiple times, and it's absolutely fabulous for lifting out highlights and lighter areas in the paint. Okay, so I'm just really not happy with this at all. I'm really wishing I didn't decide to do watercolour because I just don't like how it's going. I've removed the background because I didn't like it at all, so I'm gonna try again and hope it goes a little bit better. With the background being so pink, it didn't kind of go with the other colours, and I'm going to scrap the colour scheme as well. I'm just going to completely scrap it because I want to add some green now, so I'm going to make some changes. So I'm not really worried about the page buckling because I'm going to straighten it back out afterwards. So I'm just wetting the page and then I'm going to drop these colours in. I'm mixing the pink with the buff titanium, and I think that'll be a better colour that will blend into the colour scheme better. So I'm dropping it onto wet, and then I'm gonna add some straight buff titanium in some areas as well, just kind of in the mid area. So we've got some creamy patches, then a little bit of the pink, just some little parts here and there, just drop some of that in. Just keep my fingers crossed that it'll look a bit better than the previous one. And then a little bit of the Jane's grey, a few little bits in here and there, and then just let it kind of spread about on its own. And hopefully that'll just fade into the background and not be very noticeable when I've got the rest of the picture finished. The green colour that I'm going to introduce is this Serpentine Genuine, which is this beautiful warm green, and I've mixed it with some of the buff titanium just to tone it down, and I'm going to introduce this onto some of the trees. So these trees, I'm having them kind of lighter at the top, and then as they go down they're going to be darker and darker till it gets to this really dark area here. So now I'm adding the green colour onto the leaf areas, and this is going to be just a light layer with a hint of colour because it's just not going to be very detailed. I'm probably not going to add any shading or anything because I want the main area to stand out more, so these are just going to be kind of undetailed to the side. So I'm more pleased with this one, this background. I was a little bit worried because, I mean, it's almost the first, well it is, it's the first picture in the book, and I thought, oh, have I messed it up completely? And I was so looking forward to this book coming out. I thought, oh God, I've ruined it. So I'm feeling a little bit more hopeful about it now. And once I've got all the detail on the castle bit, I'm just desperately hoping it's going to look okay in the end. For the birds around the outside, I'm going to do them kind of glittery. So I'm making up some of the Jane's grey colour, and then I'm going to use some of this. Yeah, I'm going to use this sapphire one. So I'm going to leave that on there for a few minutes to soften and then add it to the paint. Okay, so that's layer one done. So everything's got a base layer, and now I'm going to go in and add some shading and some detail. So I'm starting with the hair, and I'm just very roughly adding in some darker areas around the edges, leaving a little highlighted blob in the middle, but it's kind of messy at this point, and I will smooth all that out a little bit later on after it's dried. Now I'm going in with a damp brush and smoothing that out. So I'll let it dry first, and then I'm just kind of blending it with a damp brush, and then I'm adding more and more dark paint into the edges, and then blending it out again, and then I'm just going back and forward, just to try and get that look that I want. And it's not easy, it is a little bit tricky. But the more and more I do it, the more and more I'm kind of getting it to how I want it to look. And with the watercolor ground being so kind of strong, and I can put the paint on, take it off, put it on, take it off, and it just seems to let me do that like over and over again. Whereas if it was a paper surface, it would just pill up, but this watercolor ground doesn't. So unfortunately, it's just some parts of it just goes really thick and leaves brush marks. If it wasn't for that, it would be perfect. going round all the little branches and just adding a little bit of shading to the bottom of those. And then once the hair was completely dry, I added a warmer layer of paint. This was a little bit of rose sienna, which is a nice yellowy colour, just to add a little bit of warmth onto the hair, because it was looking like it was exactly the same colour as the trees, and I wanted to just add a little bit more yellow into that. Yeah, so just some little bits of shading to the rest of the details. And then I thought it was looking a little bit dull, so I decided to get the acrylic pens out, the Copic Acrea ones, and just add a few little pink dots to some of the flowers. And then I also used the white and just dabbed a few little white dots onto some areas. And yeah, the little people as well climbing up the tower, they weren't really standing out at all. So I added just some little highlight lines just to the edges of some parts, just to try and bring them out a little bit more. And that's the finished picture. I'm not really happy with it. I'm definitely not happy with the sky. So yeah, but that's it now, it's done. It's not my best colouring. I really wish I hadn't decided to do watercolour on that one. So I'm heating the page up again with the heat gun, and then I'm quickly, while it's still warm, putting some books over the top, and I left them overnight, and it did flatten out the image mostly. It was kind of a little bit wrinkly towards the spine, and I think it's because the spine itself, the edge of the spine kind of like sticks out a little bit, so I should have really put all the weight of the books to the inside of the spine slightly. So I'm going to do that again, and I think I'll probably get that little bit flattened out as well. Okay, so that's the end of the video. Yeah, like I say, I'm not really happy with this picture, but it wasn't too bad. I just don't think I was very adventurous with the colours. I just wish I'd made it kind of darker, maybe like a really dark background. Anyways, I hope you've enjoyed the video, and thank you very much for watching.